Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everyone's favorite time of the month. That's right, market statistics times. These statistics are for Pinellas County for July 2022. So you probably ask yourself, Kyle, why are these statistics a month behind? We're at the end of August, why are we looking at July? And the reason why is because it takes a bit of time for the realtor boards to put together the stats in these beautiful reports and get them out to everybody. The other thing to know is that we do not compare month to month. So we are not comparing July 2022 to June 2022 because the normal course of a year, there's natural highs and lows of real estate transactions. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to compare month to month. So generally speaking, we compare July 2022 to July 2021. And that's really the best way to kind of get an overall feeling of the current state of the market. Now, those of you that have watched the last few videos, you know that there is a change afoot. So after years and years of shrinking inventory, we've actually reversed that trend for the last 3 months now. We've actually added more inventory than we've taken away. And we go over the full ramifications of all this at the end of the video, so be sure to stay tuned to the end. But just know that by and large, that trend has continued and continues to accelerate. All right, so let's take a look at these Pinellas County statistics here. Total number of closed sales was down 30.8% from 1,223 to 846. Median and average sales price, and if you remember averages, you add them up, you divide them by the number of items that you added up. Median sales price, what that is that's basically the point at which there is the same number of homes for sale at a higher price point and at a lower price point. So it's basically the exact middle point of the market. Median sales price is up 20%. to $450,000. Average sales price is up 18.2% for a total of $585,777. Total dollar volume, which is specifically how much single-family homes were transacted last month, is down 18.2%, total of $495.6 million. Interesting piece here, something I'm keeping an eye on, is median time to contract. That's actually up 42.9% to 10 days. I'll give you some perspective on that in a bit. The number of new listings has actually gone down a little bit. So there was only 1,348 new listings last month, which is down 5.4%. But the total number of active inventory is up 45.9% to a total of 1,935. And the way that works is basically demand has dropped. There's not as many closed sales. There's only 846 closed sales, but there were 1,348 new listings, meaning that net inventory active has gone up. And that's like the third month in a row that that's happened. Now, we do like to dive into the different price points because a $1 million house is going to sell on a little bit different time frame than a $250,000 house. In case you're wondering, they usually take a little longer, just not as many buyers in that $1 million price point. And I'm not going to go over every one of these individual statistics because there's like 80 of them. If you want, you can download the full report. There's a link in the description or the post here that'll take you to the website. You can download the report there, and you can also sign up to be notified via email whenever this video gets released. So total number of closed sales. So there was 0 homes under 50,000 sold last month. There was also 0 homes under 100,000 sold last month, which is not a big change, but it's a 100% change. So it went from 1 to 0. Maybe, I don't know, that might be a dividing by 0 sort of thing. 100 to 150,000, there was a total of 1 house sold last month. That was a reduction of 92.9%. Basically, to break down the rest, the $200,000 to $400,000 mark, there's not a lot to choose from in those price points. Most of the houses that used to be in those price points has slid up to $500,000, $600,000 homes now. So once we get to, so $250,000 to $300,000 is down 72.9%. There's 72.9% fewer homes in that price point. But $600,000 to $1 million, there's 11.1% more for a total of 106. The $400,000 to $600,000 price point has held steady relatively at negative 2.3%. And honestly, that's where most houses in Saint Petersburg are at nowadays, or in that $400,000 to $600,000 price point. And 1 million plus has actually gone down as well, which is the first time in a while, for a total of 76. Median time to contract, the craziest one is $100,000 to $150,000, is up to 88 days, which is an increase of 780%, which is an absolutely ridiculous statistic. I think there was one last month that was like 1,000 something. But so this is an example of when there's not a lot of individuals for sale, one outlier can cause a huge movement. This also kind of affects average sales price as well. So when I say that if there's a lot of very expensive or very inexpensive homes sold during a particular month, it can pull that average in one way or another. So the reason why that is a 780% increase is if we look back to the previous stat, that closed sales by sales price, there was a total of one house sold between $100,000 to $149,000. And so from this, we can infer that that was on the market for 88 days, which as a professional, I read it as it was way overpriced for the condition that and probably neighborhood that it was in. If the house needs a lot of work or if it's a disaster, it's still going to take a while to sell it. That's just, things have not improved that much. So far as total median time to contract though, other than that fun outlier, everything has really moved up. So the shortest period we were at like 4 or 5 days. Currently we're mostly up to 10 days. So like $300,000 to $400,000 is at 10 days. That's an increase of 42.9%. Normal market conditions, quote unquote, time to contract is usually about 30 to 45 days. So we are still extremely quick compared to normal market conditions, quote unquote, or more relaxed market conditions, I guess you could say. But even that 30 to 45 day mark is still a seller's market. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with this is these time to contract stats are from contracts that were written 30 days ago in June. So these are actually 60 days behind a little bit. Now, there's not really a good way that I've found to pull like current time to contracts. Reason why is because a lot of realtors are very untrustworthy on the flipping to pending thing, and you never actually know if something that flips to pending is actually going to close. I can say anecdotally that has gone up from this 10-ish days. Anecdotally, I would guess like 15 to 20 days currently. Number of new listings basically reflects the closed listings, in that anything under $400,000, there's a lot fewer of those. For example, $250,000 to $300,000, there was 59.6% fewer houses listed for sale at that price point. And then above 400, there's more. So 400 to 600,000, there was 29.5% more homes for sale, total of 439. That's basically the new listings. The total inventory though is really the one though. So again, we have that price break at 300,000. So less than 300,000, there's a lot fewer for sale. But if you're looking at a price point above 300,000, the good news is there's a lot more to look at now than there was a year ago. So $300,000 to $400,000, there's 30.1% more houses for sale, total of 419. $400,000 to $600,000, there's 105.2% more houses for sale, for a total of 587. $600,000 to $1 million, there's 101% more houses for sale, for a total of 386. That's more than double the number of houses compared to if you were looking this time last year. And 1 million or more is up 97.9%. for a total of 382. Keep hanging around. I'm going to go over time frames and price decreases and all that stuff in the next section here. I got to get through the doom and gloom page here. So basically, a lot of people were afraid that when the foreclosure moratorium was lifted that we would have an overwhelming flood of bank-owned properties and foreclosures. That is not the case. And to illustrate that, let's see if I can hold this up here for you. You can see that these two numbers are a big fat zero. So in July 2022, there was 0 foreclosures and there were 0 short sales. I don't know how to put a bigger bow on it than that for you. Other than to say, go take a look back at my videos from about a year to a year and a half ago, where I said that a flood of foreclosures or short sales is extraordinarily unlikely. All right, so let's read the tea leaves here a little bit. So one, how did I know that there wasn't going to be a lot of foreclosures and short sales? And the answer is when prices are increasing as fast as they had been. The simple math is that even if you bought a house like 8 months ago, more than likely you would have enough equity in that house that you could sell it and actually put some money in your pocket. And so most people, when faced, even if they fall on hard times, they are able to fall back on selling that house putting some money in their pocket and walking away free and clear. Foreclosures and short sales usually only happen when there's no options. And so where we're at currently is we're currently at this peak and leveling period. Median and average sales price is kind of bounced back and forth within about a $10,000 range for the last few months versus previous year or two, it has been a steady increase. Nothing unusual other than it is a change from the preceding norm. Now, everyone's talking about all these price reductions and all this stuff on Zillow and Realtor.com. You know, it shows a big number there, you know, price reduced $30,000. Price reduced $20,000. So everyone's freaking out. They think the market's crashing. That is not what's happening. And that's backed up by those average and median sales prices and by checking the month-to-month median and average numbers. So we've actually held within a $10,000 band. What's happening with those price reductions are, so the first part of this year, the way that you would price a house is you would basically have to price it way out ahead or higher than you could currently prove on the market and see if someone would be willing to buy the house at that price. And it worked great for 2 to 3 months. You could get away with that. What's happening now is people are still trying to do that, not realizing that the market circumstances has changed. You cannot do that anymore. Your house will sit there. So far as true price reductions, which is going to be an actual trend of declining average and median sales price, that is still going to be months and months and months, and maybe even years down the road from this point if this current trend continues. And here's the reason why. If you look at statistics, most houses sold within the last, 2-ish years have been in the 2 to 4% interest rate price point. And that is crazy good money, and the rental market is still very good. So there's not going to be an overwhelming amount of pain here in the immediate future, unless there's like some major economic catastrophe and tons of people get laid off. Then I'll be doing another one of these videos, doing a little update here. So people got really good deals on their mortgages. People are going to try to hold on to that. Natural human outlook for real estate is no one wants to sell a piece of real estate for less than what they paid for it. The only way that people get to the decision that they need to sell for less than what they paid for it or what they think it is worth is if it is on the market. And this goes back to that time for contract, that time to contract, which I said that is actually the key indicator that I'm paying attention to. The only time that people decide to sell for less than they think that the home is worth is if they have tried to sell that house for a very long period of time and it did not sell. And the normal time frame for that, like I said, if you remember that 30 to 45 days, that is still a seller's market, but that is like normal market conditions. 40 to 60 days is kind of like a neutral-ish market. And then once you get to like, 70, 80, 90 days, that is buyer's market. So when you have buyer's market, that is when prices start to come down. Current time to contract is sitting at, official stats has it at 10, 12, 13 days. Anecdotally, I would say that it's currently hanging around like 18, 19, 20, meaning that homes are still selling pretty quickly, not nearly as quickly as they were like 6 months ago, but that's okay. Because if it goes under contract within a month, that still does not stress sellers out to the point to where they are willing to go below what they believe the house is worth. Long story short, the TLDR on that is that there's not enough pain for sellers currently to really start seeing a drastic decline in housing prices. And that is going to be the case for a very long time. If you wanted me to put a time period on it, I would say I would not expect to see any sort of decline, at least for like 6, 9, even a year. Because if you look at historically, the last crash that we had, so let's say that happened like, 2007-ish, it wasn't really until mid to late 2008 that you start to notice that housing prices start a slow decline. And then it took 3 to 4 years until 2011 for those prices to really come down to 30 to 40% of that highest peak. Suffice to say, explaining all that just because there's a lot of stuff flying around. There's a lot of online articles, people not really understanding how real estate works that are basically just repeating things or trying to apply stock market stuff. It kind of works, but you have to extend the time frames out a very long time. The honest truth is, if you've been thinking about buying a house or making a change in your life, it's like take action on that decision today, because the alternative is, you're going to be waiting like 9 months to a year. That's not guaranteed that prices are going to come down at all, because everyone that owns a house is going to be fighting reducing, the sales price on those houses. If you've been thinking about making the move, improving your lifestyle, if you're ready for a change, just make the decision, set your budget, stay within your budget, and buy the best house that meets your lifestyle that you want to live, and make that positive choice in your life. I promise you, even if, worst case scenario, even if the market turns against you a little bit, if you buy a home that you're absolutely in love with, you're not really going to be too upset about it, So it's definitely not the worst thing in the world to, to own a house that you're in love with. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. This has been Market Statistics for July 2022. My name is Kyle Sasser. If you're interested in finding your own home, I'd be happy to help you out. You can reach me at 813-323-7396. You can also email me at kyle@sassergroup.com. If you want a copy of this report, like I said, you can hit the link below. There's a link to the webpage. You can sign up. I'll email it to you. If you don't have email and you have a phone, you can call me and I will print this out and mail it to you. I promise. Put me to the test. Other than that, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.